Again, good morning, everyone, and thank you all for joining. My name is Stephanie Chavez, and I'm a member of the USC Society of Trojan Women alumni group. Again, just a friendly reminder to mute your microphones. We will take a group photo at the end of the event. So for those who would like to participate, just stay logged in and we're going to do a nice fight-on photo for social media. Today, we're going to hear from the alumni leaders who are experts at bringing their whole selves into the workplace, even while working remotely. They will discuss how they embrace vulnerability, made tough decisions to stay true to one's authentic self, and how it's led to their success in their career and personal life. I would now like to introduce our moderator for the event, Principal and Outreach Practice Area Leader for Placework, and Adjunct Professor for the USC Price Executive Master's Program, Wendy Nowak. Wendy, take it away.
Good morning, everybody. Thank you, Stephanie. We're very excited about this event. When we had been just talking and planning for it, Alesia had kind of likened it to sitting around a dinner table with some new neighbors for the first time, and you're trying to feel out whether or not you think these are going to be future friends. And so we hope that that's the kind of environment that we bring for you, because we had a really good time. So as Stephanie mentioned, I work for a company called Placeworks, and what we do is urban planning and design. So I don't know if any of you either watch Parks and Rec or are familiar with the game SimCity, but that's my life in real life. So I do a lot of outreach with communities. I work with cities. I also work with private property owners. So historically, it's been a very male dominated field. So that's an interesting way, to kind of think about you being you in that kind of environment. I also received my undergrad and graduate degree from USC, what is now the Price School, and had started out in the Annenberg School of Communication. So I am living out my dream of talk show host today for a few minutes. So appreciate you letting me lead the conversation. And in my work environment since quarantine, I was in an office all day, every day. So it's been an adjustment for me having my cat as a coworker and getting to wear dressy jeans every day. I haven't quite gotten to yoga pants, but I'm in the dressy jeans. And so as I introduced myself, we'd like to put up a poll question for you. We want to get to know you while we are introducing, or you're getting to know the other two panelists. So hopefully Christina can put up that poll question for everybody, and you can answer that for us so we can get to know a little bit more about you. And then again, we mentioned we have the chat box on the side. So if you have questions, or if you want us to talk about a topic and bring that up, feel free to put it in the side and we'll take a look there. So Alesia, do you want to tell everybody a little bit about yourself?
Absolutely. Well, first of all, it is a joy and a pleasure and an honor and a privilege to be here with all of you this morning. So thank you to the organizers for inviting me. My name is Alesia Jackson, and I'm a 1982 graduate of the USC Annenberg School of Communications with a bachelor's in journalism with an emphasis in broadcasting and a bachelor's in communication arts and sciences. A little bit about me: I transitioned from working in corporate America for Fortune 500 companies such as Federated Department Stores, Xerox Corporation, and Pfizer Pharmaceuticals over a 24-year career in training and development, in recruiting, in sales and marketing. And I left there to be more present with my children and my husband. But since then, I've built a virtual franchise with a global nutrition company working from home for the past 14 years that offers me the freedom and the flexibility that I was really looking for. And I was able to kind of set things up using my own time, my own schedule, my own leadership style to really help my clients and my team to be able to get healthy, stay healthy, and to grow their own food. And really what I was looking for is to be able to be present in my children's lives, but also to be able to build a strong and steady residual income that would be able to help me contribute to my family's finances. And it's allowed me to be able to do all of that and more. And so I've continued to get personal and professional growth, and I've been able to really design a life that suits me by my own design. And that's where I'm at.
All right. Thanks, Alesia. Kimberly, can we learn a little bit about you?
Sure, yeah. So hi everyone, good morning. I'm Kimberly Tucker. I am I guess, master level Trojan. I like that term at least. My undergrad was in communications as well, but I also, like my fellow panelists, graduated from USC Annenberg with my master's in communication. And that was about 2 years ago. In between now and then, I've been continuing on my journey in software and technology. I work for a company that basically kits out businesses with varying degrees of software. So anything from accounting to supply chain management to e-commerce, like all of that is done on the back end by a company like the one that I work for. So I have the privilege of being the director of marketing for that company, but it didn't start there. So I rose in my ranks through software. Starting at a marketing assistant position. I had no idea what I was getting into. I just needed health insurance. And here I am 8 years later, the director for a whole department and nationwide, 45 offices. And I just feel really, really privileged to be here to share how I was able to kind of, go through those phases of career with, adversity and not seeing people like me, but then also going back to school and kind of finding my way with the Trojan family as well to help me. So really happy to be here and share what I've been through.
Thanks, Kimberly. So that's a little bit about us. Let's learn a little bit about you guys and what it feels like for you to be authentically you, like how often that happens and what that means. So Christina, can you show us the poll results? Yeah, everybody is kind of, there's some people that feel it. They've got it, they've felt it, they're learning it, they're living it. But the majority of us kind of are using it, depending on who you're around. It's kind of a tool. I do the same thing, like depending on the audience that I'm with, I might turn up me a little bit more, I might turn it down. So we're gonna have a little bit more discussion about that, what that looks like. And then there are a few of you that are like, I save me for the people that are closest to me, for my inner circle, and we understand that too. So we'd be curious just to see, how that looks and how that shapes the conversation we have today. So I think that is a great way to lead into our first question. And the first question really is, what does it mean to be you? Like, and what is you being you, and how does that feel? Or is there ever a point where you're like too much you for somebody, So, Alesia and Kimberly, I don't know who wants to go first. Maybe you could shed some light on that for us.
Sure, I don't mind. I was thinking about that's a great question, by the way. And I'd say that it really depends. And I will say that I'm different at 59, which is my age now, than I was at 29. And so at 29, I was very opinionated, outspoken, forceful, driven, impatient. I said I was assertive, but I think back now 3 decades and thinking, maybe I really did kind of come off maybe a little aggressive, and not meaning to, but, I'm sure I probably rubbed people the wrong way. So over these last 30 years, I have mellowed, and some of that's come with maturity. Some of that's come through experience. But I would say now I'm more patient. I listen more than I speak. I ask more clarifying questions. I speak slower and more deliberately because I want to give people time to think, because I was rapid fire back, way back when I was in my youth. I measure my words more carefully. And now I take a more strategic approach to communication. What I mean by that is I focus more on delivery and timing, if it needs to be said at all. What I've learned through my experience is that sometimes it's better for you to just think it and keep it inside, and or to use surrogates. Sometimes it doesn't need to be you to carry the bucket. Sometimes it's better to be more strategic and work the back end and plant the seed and let somebody else carry the message, because the message will be received better from somebody else. So at this stage of my life, I'm pulling different levers. And now I'm more, and on a personal level, I'm more comfortable in my own skin at 59. And what that means for me is In my youth, I was maybe trying to conform to a certain standard of beauty, or to look a certain way. Now it's about, what do I feel comfortable? You know, wearing my hair in locks, a more ethnic hairstyle. As an African-American woman, it's like, you know, I don't feel like I have to have it relaxed and curled. I can rock my ethnic hairstyle and feel comfortable. And I really don't really care about what other people are thinking about it, because it's comfortable for me. So that's the way I would answer that question.
Very good. Kimberly, what do you think?
I admire that. At my point in my career, I have a little bit of a conservative approach, I guess. Working in technology and software is, as I mentioned, it's male dominated, but I kind of have a more creative, freer spirit. So I have learned that I kind of have to walk that fine line and kind of feel my room, or understand, you know, who my audience is. To dial up or down on how much of me I really bring, because I can be a little overwhelming. I'm a pretty fun. So, but also I want it to be immediately taken seriously. And there's a point of authority, I think, that comes with kind of a lower tone voice. As Alesia said, a softer, more deliberate delivery of your message. Walking tall, I'm quite tall, so I still wear heels because I like to wear heels, and that can be intimidating to other people, but also a strong stance. So I kind of embrace the points of me that I feel are strong, and make sure in the workplace that those are present, but also that I get to, you know, wear floral, or, you know, whatever I also align with on a personal level, because I don't want to lose myself. There's this really cute short that my sister sent me. It's called Pearl, and it's on Disney Plus. I don't know if any of you have Disney Plus, but it's about this little ball of yarn that goes into a finance office, and she gets the job and she's all excited, but everyone else is not a ball of yarn. So she feels she's too soft, and she changes herself because she didn't see anyone else like her. And so as the short goes on, it you know, she becomes one of them, and then another ball of yarn gets hired, and they make fun of that ball of yarn. And it's just like indicative of, be who you are, so that other people can see that that's an acceptable balance in whatever work you do.
I agree. I think, you know, just even from my perspective, working in a world where we're doing a lot of community outreach, that softness, being able to be approachable in a world where it's, you know, perceived suits, you know, the suits aren't the people that people are going to want to come talk to and go, this is what I don't like about my community, or what I should change, or what I don't understand. That's not approachable. And so actually the things that you guys are talking about, the things that make you are your strengths, but sometimes they're the hardest things to stick to, because it makes you go a little bit against the norm. And so maybe this is a good way to segue into our next question, which is, you know, are there decisions that you've had to make in your career, or a decision, like, or a time where you being you had to stand up and use that, or you know, how did it shape that, some big decision you made? You know, it's like you were different than what typically you would see happen, or it was a strength, or it was a challenge, or something like that. How about Kimberly, why don't you start, since Alesia started last time?
Sure. Yeah. So as I said, I finished my undergrad degree, and then I went and got a marketing assistant position with a just referral from one of a friend who also works in software. So I had no idea what I was getting into, but I knew something about digital marketing. So I was hired. Thank God I got health insurance. That was the goal. And I rolled forward in my learning about software, and I was one of 6 in an office, and every other person was a guy. And varying ages or whatnot, but I was the youngest, and I had the youngest in industry as well as age. And I was just, you know, me, I'm quite bubbly and nice and happy. And I didn't want to lose that, but I also had to be able to learn and ask questions. And so I was really lucky to have a sales director that I got along with, and kind of took me under his wing and let me ask questions, and brought me in on deals, and, you know, helped design marketing, because I had no idea what I was doing. So that was really helpful. But then that sales director left the company after about a year and a half, or no, probably like 2.5 years. We had like a nice thing going. I got to like do whatever I wanted. And then he would feed me projects and I would just push them out. And then I would go back to like Facebook or whatever else I was up to. But I wasn't growing. And so that he left the role up to another bigger, better role for him. And then I had the opportunity to either stay where I was at and let them hire a sales manager or a sales director, or try to rise into that sales director position with the limited experience I had. And so I was at a crossroads. I had a big decision to make. Do I continue in my career, or do I just stay down and maybe exit, maybe go to a company that I would like to do the marketing for, like some consumer that was more fun? Or do I take this new bigger role that I have no business taking because I'm not suitable, or I'm not well equipped for such a large role. But luckily the partners I worked for said, we trust you. We think you can do it. Well, it's yours if you want it. And so I had a big decision to make. I said, wow, like, can I even handle that? Sure, it would be a pay raise, but like, would I be successful? Can I ethically take this role? And I just thought, if you are going to be a career woman, this is your open door. Like, you have to take those opportunities that are presented to you, even though they terrify you. So there I went. They made me a new title. I was then business development manager, which is great because they offered to, come alongside me and continue to coach me in the sales process and send me to sales academies and things like that in my industry, which was awesome. But also I didn't have that person, that touch point person that could coach me anymore. So I had a big decision to make. Like, do I go find a mentor in my industry? Do I kind of just fake it till I make it, or do I maybe go back to school? And I evaluated all those options, but I ultimately ended up choosing to go back to school because that type of marketing learning wasn't going to come from my internal contacts, and it may not even come from my industry because there's a varying amount of mentorship that also has like competitive edge to it. So I ended up finding USC's master's program online, which was awesome and completely changed my life. It allowed me to continue in my software career, as well as immediately learn and apply things on a day-to-day. And so it made me, I had a lot of decisions to make in choosing to go to USC. Can I afford it? Do I want to give up all that free time, like work 40, 50 hours a week and then do school at night and on the weekends? Will my family and friends suffer? Will my personal goals suffer? A marriage, family, all the things I wanted were now going to be shelved for 2 years. But I ultimately ended up deciding it was going to be a good idea, and I have no regrets. It's changed me in so many beautiful ways that I've every thing that I've done has come from being better as a result of who I've met and what I learned, and even just testing myself in those ways. So that's probably the biggest decision I've had to make that's benefited me, and I have no regrets.
So, that is empowering, like trying to figure out what your path is, and you're like, this is my path. Like, how do I move forward? And you stuck with it and look where you are. That's exciting. Alesia, what about you?
Well, I'm excited for you, Kimberly, first of all, because you did make a lot of key decisions that help propel you to where you are today. And it clearly is well suited for you. As for me, as I mentioned to you earlier, that I transitioned from a pretty substantial career of working in corporate America for 24 years. And at one point, my children were 3.5 and 8 years old. And I really, my husband and I sat down and talked about, our life and the quality of our life and what we wanted. And he asked me, he's like, I really want our quality of life back, because I was working all the time. I'd work all day doing sales calls to my doctors. Then sometimes I would come home and go into the office and, put in more work. Sometimes if I had to be out at a restaurant entertaining my doctors and their wives, or if I wasn't doing that, then I was studying on the weekend, to just keep up, my skills. So I was working all the time and not spending a whole lot of time with the family. So it really, when he asked me that question, I had to think about, I've been working for so long. That was my identity. And at first I thought, okay, do I really want to leave? But yes, I really do want to leave, because I want to be there for my children. I don't want to miss anything. So ultimately, when I finally made the decision to leave corporate America, it really wasn't a hard decision because I really wasn't that happy. The money's one thing, but there's more to life than just money, okay, and making money, right? And so the thing that was hard, though, is when I actually got home and I thought that I wanted to be a stay-at-home mom. After about 6 months, what was hard was the loss of my self-esteem, the loss of my identity. I found myself trying to figure out who I was and like, what am I? What am I doing, from at home? And I had to recreate myself and kind of, create a new identity, but I really wasn't sure what that was. And so I had to do some introspective work. I hired a coach to help me try to figure out what it is that I really wanted to do and what was important to me and what I really wanted. And that really helped me. And that what I really discovered at the end of the day is that even though I love my kids and I love my husband, motherhood was not enough. I missed having a career. And so then it became a decision as to, okay, well, what do you do now? Okay. And so I kind of did a little research and I knew I didn't want to go back to corporate America. I didn't want the lockdown. I wanted my freedom. I wanted my flexibility. I wanted to be my own boss. I wanted to be able to have my own decisions, the way I wanted to do things, and might set my own schedule. And so I knew that I wanted to generate income from home. And so the franchise model was really the best model for me, but I didn't want to go and, spend a huge outlay of money to be able to do that. So I found a virtual franchise that was, cost effective for me, that offered me all the benefits of a franchise, that I could work from home. The income was steady. There was no large startup, no ceilings. Okay. And it had a benefits package attached to it that was available too. And so ultimately, that has been the opportunity for me to be able to have everything that I wanted. I have been able to work from home. I have my freedom and my flexibility. I've had the ability to be at every one of my kids' special events and ceremonies and sports and, whatever, and still continue to contribute to the family's finances, but on my own terms. And that's what I really wanted. And so I'm a happy camper. I'm loving it right now. So anyway, and serving people that need what I have in terms of being able to get healthy, stay healthy, and be able to help them find ways to grow their own food and take more control over their health and their life. So it's been a beautiful thing for me.
Yeah, well, and it sounds like, in listening to you talk about your path, it's like listening to yourself and where, because I think, I have been guilty of, I got my degree, I got my job, you keep working, this is what you do, but tuning into what is it that really makes you happy. Sometimes we stuff that voice down or we don't give it space to come up. And I can see by you tuning into that, like you're just beaming. You like what you do, you're happy, you found the path. Not that it's been easy, but when you can arrive at that point, you've got the balance, the things. And so I think that is, you see the power of being you and listening to that. But sometimes the decisions are hard because, for so long, I am guilty too of being like, I'm the helper. You just give it to me. I never say no. You don't set the boundaries. You don't do the things that you need to create that space to give you that joy. So I think there is that, finding that value and the satisfaction in being.
Can I just add one more thing, Wendy, to what you just said? So when I was in corporate America, I was in my middle 40s. I really do think that at wherever you happen to be, there's certain things that happen in rhythms in life at every decade, every key decade. So, when you're in your 20s, I often have this conversation with my women friends, and they seem to agree at the same time. So when you're in your 20s, you're still trying to please people, okay? When you get into your 30s, you're still trying to please people, but to a little bit lesser degree. Mm-hmm. When you get to your 40s, you get really clear. There's a certain amount of clarity that happens when you're in your 40s, where you are starting to really dial in as to what you want, what's important to you. You start cleaning house and getting rid of the people that are not serving you. You don't want to deal with any mess, no drama, okay? But you just start to get some clarity. Honey, by the time you get into your 50s, you're really clear. Okay, there's boundaries are very clear. There are certain things that you're just not tolerant, you're not going to put up with anymore. And you really start to dial into what are the things that are going to serve me. That doesn't mean that you're selfish in a mean way. It just means that you are being very clear about how you want to live out your life and who gets to be part of the tribe, because not everybody gets to be part of the tribe. Okay. And some people get booted out of the tribe. Okay.
They get off the island.
They vote themselves off the island because they've gotten crazy. They've done something stupid, or, whatever, I'm just keeping it real. Okay. But, and then by the time I'm knocking on the door of 60, I'll be 60 on New Year's Eve this year. That's a big number. I'm not stressed out about it. I don't freak out about it. Okay. Age is just a number, but at this stage in my life, the clarity is even sharper. Okay. And you start to kind of trim. It's like a rose bush. You start to trim, but you know what happens when you trim a rose bush? It actually promotes more growth, right? Okay. So that's just kind of, my own philosophy, but as I've fact checked it with some of my other girlfriends, they seem to agree as well. So I'd be curious to know what the audience thinks, if I'm onto something here, or if you tend to agree or not.
Yeah, and I mean, I think this is a good point too. We have the chat, and so we haven't had any questions there, but feel free, raise your hands, you guys, or if you want to ask a question, or you had this situation where you're like, hey, I got stuck in this, and you want to share a story, please feel free. Let us know, because we want this to be more interactive. We like talking to each other, but we want to make sure that you have an opportunity as well. So I have some more questions, and I'm going to keep going, but please feel free to raise your hand, interject, be a part of it. We welcome that. One of the big things I think we've all been wrestling with, well, at least me, for someone that hasn't worked at home before, is, how do you keep your authentic self, during quarantine? What does that look like, and, how, and obviously this format that we're doing right now is our avenue and our venue. But how do you keep it real so it doesn't become a boring, work meeting or another PowerPoint show? And I have another, it was on, I'm a member of the International Association of Public Participation. And when we were talking about coffee talks, one of the ways that they were saying to keep it real was like, how many people have a drink next to them right now? Everybody's like, pretty much everybody, and it's like, if you have a drink, hold it up and show us your coffee mug, or show us what you're doing. And we toast each other to say, hey, we're in this together. Like, we're doing, the normal stuff. There's stuff that goes on in the background. So how are you guys keeping it real while we're in quarantine? What are those things that you do that keep it authentic?
Well, I will tell you that right now, I have never worn leggings so much. Okay, but I am keeping it real by wearing H&M leggings, which are the most comfortable leggings I think I've ever found. And so I'm wearing them right now. Okay, but I have, my professional top, as I'm doing, online meetings. So the other thing that's interesting about, I'm used to working from home. So I have a home office. I share it with my husband. So what's been interesting with the quarantine is that my two children, 22-year-old and 17-year-old, so college student, is back home because all the colleges have shut down, okay, and they're doing online instruction. My son his high school is shut down and they're home. So in the daytime, when I was used to working from home and it was quiet, okay, when I wanted to work, there's a certain level of energy that happens when you have your kiddos back home, okay? And so I've had to kind of set some ground rules with them. Like, I have a sign on my door that I put, says, quiet meeting in session, because what had happened a couple times before I put the sign up was I'd hear them outside my door, okay, and they'd be screaming from the bottom of the stairs to the top, to calling out for somebody, and I'd hear it through the door. I'm like, oh my God. Or my husband would photobomb and come in the middle of my meeting to grab something, that was on his side of the works area. And I'm like, okay, no, we cannot have that. That's not very professional. Okay, so we need to stop doing that. And they just need to be quiet. I mean, it's almost like, it's so funny. It's like they are kind of like, they revert back. They have a very strong relationship with each other. So they kind of revert back to when they were kids. but they're young adults. But the noise and the kidding and the fun, they forget that people are trying to actually conduct business up in here. Okay, so that's been kind of a unique thing in terms of maintaining my engagement with my relationships with my customers, my team members, my business associates, technology. I'm so grateful. I'm so grateful to Zoom. I'm so grateful to be using FaceTime or my text messaging, emails. To keep the human touch in, though, I've actually started incorporating a app that I use to send greeting cards, and that helps me to use the warm touch. I don't want to lose the warm touch because I'm a hugger. So if I love meeting people and being in their presence, but since I can't do that right now, and of course I ask permission now. I ask permission before I go in for a hug, because some people don't like to be touched. So I've learned that the hard way. But the greeting cards helps me to send my hug to them in the mail. Okay, and that's been a way to be able to be high touch.
Yeah,
and not just so high tech all the time.
Well, and Kimberly, can you talk about how you keep that soft side? You were talking about that being, you've got your analogy of, was it pearl, the yarn, so there is that part of you, and that is what makes you you. So how have you been incorporating that into quarantine, or what you've been doing for work or other things?
Sure. Yeah. So I actually have worked remote hybrid role for about 1.5 years with my newest company. And it has actually been really refreshing to see. We do most of our events digitally like this because we obviously have a nationwide presence. And so across time zones and just different logistics of attending a physical event, it's much easier to get people to opt in, kind of like we have here. But one of the things I've noticed over the past 6 weeks or so is a whole lot of grace that we're extending in these meetings, which is awesome to see. When, as I said, my industry is a lot of us work remotely. So it's been kind of oh, you forgot to mic, kind of condescending in past, because like you said, it's a professional environment, which is fine. But now that we're all at home, it's kind of leveled this playing field, and it gives us all an opportunity to kind of ask how are your kids doing with the work? How are you homeschooling? How's your coworker, which is typically a pet, and it's kind of it's a nice human side to this that wasn't present in digital events for me before. So yeah, it's been really awesome. I get to, I live in a beach city, so typically I will walk midday as well, and I'll get coworkers or just different people calling me, and I'll pick up the phone. I'll just say yeah, I'm on my midday walk, but what can I do for you? And it's never you're not at your desk. It's oh, okay, that makes sense, because we still have to get outside these days. So it's been really refreshing, I think, to be able to be authentic like that in a place where it was very formal before, at least in my role. So it's nice to see. But I hope it doesn't revert back completely. I hope we have a little empathy residual once we get back to our quote unquote normal.
Yeah, and I think because we all are adjusting in some way, shape, or form, it is that human element of just taking that moment in the beginning and just checking in on everybody. You're right. And before it's here's the agenda, we're starting, let's go, and you're just right to business. But there is more of that connectivity, which I think is a nice thing to see. And we're getting some funny comments. Phil provided a comment where he had an example. Phil, do you want to share it with everybody, or want me to share it?
So first of all, thank you for inviting me. I guess I'm the lone guy here, so I appreciate hearing you guys' perspective. I work in HR for the Coast Guard at headquarters level, so it's very interesting to me to get a broader perspective from different industries, the private sector and whatnot. But so yeah, this was a military call across the country, conference line or whatnot, and everyone's we're talking about developing policies for COVID and what we're going to do with the force. This guy's like, yeah, I got a great idea. And he just starts shooting off with the mouth about
offering his opinions on the side. So he was on the call. He was somebody's husband, right? Right.
And you can hear me shut up, stop. And then it went mute, and I'm assuming she took care of it.
Yeah. There are funny things that happen all the time. And I think we're also being more accepting too, where you know, I have a couple coworkers in all of this that have had babies. And so then we're like, look, we're actually asking to see the baby. Like I need that. I need to see somebody's dog. I need to see the baby, because being, you know, tucked away for so long, we don't get those opportunities to interact. And maybe some of you are like, please give me the space, because my kids are around, or my 5 roommates are around, and I can't find one little spot to myself to have a call or to just hear myself think. So it's all of us, again, that I guess listening to our inner voice, like, what do we need and how can I get that? And not in a selfish way, but just in the like self-survival way. So thanks for sharing, Phil. I appreciate it. And so have anybody else had any, you know, funny stories or things that came up while they were doing the meetings? Just let us know.
I will tell you that I actually was having a one-on-one Zoom meeting with a businesswoman, and she was literally at home, and I think she had a 1-year-old and a 3-year-old boys. And one was on one side with the iPad playing a little game or watching a movie or something like that. And the 1-year-old was over here. She was trying to, like, you know, keep him occupied, but he kept like, mommy. So it was really chaotic, you know, but I was like, don't worry, Christina. You know, I have been there. I know what it's like. And so what she does is she has these little, you know, meetings, getting to know you meetings with different people.
Yeah.
But at 7 o'clock, she's like, at 7 o'clock when my husband comes home, she's like, here. And that's when her like high powered, you know, meetings go, and, you know, and so she's like, I cannot be interrupted. I mean, seriously, but, you know, and I was totally okay with it. It's like, you know what, you just roll with it. But the grace that Kimberly was talking about, it's like, you know, we're all in this situation together, and we just have to just kind of be mindful of the different challenges that people have. But as long as we can communicate and, you know, be honest and open and, you know, thoughtful and caring, then I think we can still continue to pursue the outcome that we're looking for. We just may just have a few little twists in the road, you know, but it's cool.
All right. Well, it looks like we're winding down a little bit on our time here. And so, you know, I think if there's any last like parting words that you guys have, you know, final advice, Alesia and Kimberly, maybe Kimberly, you can start to, you know, share with everybody like what you'd like to leave them with on this conversation.
Sure. Yeah. So I guess, I mean, when you're feeling that kind of tension that happens when you're not exactly comfortable at work, or, you know, if you feel like you have the ground to stretch, I would encourage you to do so. There's a certain amount of terror involved in growing, but also it's really important that you have the foundation, you know, that you'll be supported, or you'll be paving the way to support future women doing what you're doing, or future men. So it's, I would encourage you all to really kind of do things that scare you. I know that's kind of said a lot, but if I hadn't had taken that role that terrified me, I would have never gone to grad school. I would have probably exited that company and maybe software as a whole, and I would not be the person I am today. Even though that person that I was authentically me, I was able to grow and change in a way that wouldn't have happened had I shied away from that growth opportunity. So I feel like God gives us all like little doors and windows, and there can be a lot of overwhelming decisions to make in life, but the more still I am, the more like kind of true to who I am and what I want for my life, the easier it is to feel peace when making decisions and whittling down that to where you don't have anxiety when you're moving forward. Like, okay, I can do this because this is what I want to do.
All right.
I would
say, bring it home. Serve it up. Give us
me. Well, the first things I like to tell people is I live my life on purpose, with purpose. And that kind of sets the tone for just kind of, you know, how I see my life and being authentically me. The couple of guiding principles that I try very hard to live by. The first one is you can have everything in life that you want if you just help enough other people get what they want. And that's by Zig Ziglar, one of my favorite positive thinking individuals. Another one is People Don't Care How Much You Know Until They Know How Much You Care, and that's by Theodore Roosevelt. And then Maya Angelou said, I've learned that people will forget what you have said, they'll forget what you have done, but they will never forget how you made them feel. And the 4 Agreements by Don Miguel Ruiz, which is be impeccable with your word, don't take anything personally, don't make assumptions, and always do your best. In terms of leadership, I like to read and fill my mind with positive information and continue to grow and sharpen my saw. So I'd like to throw out the name Brene Brown because she has helped me being smarter and better and a more vulnerable leader. 2 really great books. One is Daring Greatly. The other one is Dare to Lead. Looks like this. And then finally, a couple of isms that we talk about in our family that we try to coach our kids to think about is control what you can control and then leave the rest to God. But when you do that, don't forget to make an adjustment. Make the adjustment. And the adjustment usually has to be something that you make because you can't control the outcomes of the things. And before you do anything, pause and reflect. So I'm going to just close it off and just offer a free gift that I'd like anybody that's on the call that would like to have some help with, maybe digging a little deeper into your why, some of the things that have helped me, some of the things that I use as a coach when I work with adults and sometimes kids. As an act of gratitude, if it would like a motivation workbook, then I would be happy to send it to you. Just go to Abundant Health Consulting on my Facebook business page, Abundant Health Consulting, and just put in that you would like it, and I will be happy to send it to you. And that's just my act of gratitude to allow me to be able to be here and to serve you today. Thank you very much.
Wonderful. So do we have any other questions or, anything people want to learn more about or have anything to say, share in our morning together? If not, we've really enjoyed, I think we were talking about staying connected so we can keep this conversation going. There's so many things, it's hard to condense it in just, 45 minutes to an hour because we have to unpack it before we can actually address all the things that are coming. So, I know we only scratched the surface of it, but I hope you found some relatable stories or have seen that, maybe you saw somebody dealing with something a different way than you thought about doing, or hey, yeah, maybe it gives you that, hey, maybe I'll just be myself today and see what happens and see if I get a different reaction. And what does that mean? Test it out every once in a while. So, we'd like to thank our panelists, Alesia and Kimberly, for showing up, the opportunity to be in front of all of you guys and, hearing their career paths and what their journeys were in being uniquely themselves. We also want to thank all of you that have attended and have tuned in with us today to be part of the conversation. We're just a little piece, and so we know that you have something to contribute as well, and we look forward to hearing your stories at a future event. And so we hope you guys continue to stay connected with each other through the USC Alumni Association, and want to say fight on. And we don't want to lose all of you guys. Anybody that would like to stay on for our fight on photo at the end, we would appreciate you doing that. Those of you that need to drop off or don't want to be part of a photo, that's fine too. This is your cue to sneak out the back door. But thank you all for being here. We really, really appreciate your time.